except the cost of the rooms. And at the beginning of March, they made it very clear that if we did not get out of there, that they would bodily take Mr. Hughes down 9 flights of stairs and put him out in the street. And half kiddingly, I said, if you want a place to sleep tonight, Howard, or tomorrow, you better start negotiations to buy a hotel.
And that's exactly what he does. In 1967, Detroit mobster Mo Dalitz finally helps seal the deal. Hughes buys the operating rights to the Desert Inn. This gives him ownership of the lucrative operating revenues from the casino floor and hotel rooms, as opposed to the building itself. Howard Hughes gets casino fever.
I suddenly received a phone call from Mr. Hughes, and he said, Bob, he's laughing, and he said, Bob, how many more of these toys are available? I said, what do you mean, toys? He said, how many more of these casinos are available?
It's perfect timing for the mob. The IRS are investigating their casinos, and rumors of a crackdown by federal authorities are rampant.
We knew that several of the casinos were in dire straits and problems with the federal authorities. And that's why we went. We bought the casinos. The Sands, the Castaways, the Frontier, the Silver Slipper.
Sammy Davis Jr. described Howard Hughes as the only man who plays Monopoly with real buildings.
Hughes' spending spree ends with the tycoon controlling a third of the revenue generated on the Strip. He becomes the largest independent employer in the state of Nevada. To the outside world, it looks as if the mobsters have been driven out.
He has, by buying out certain hotels, retired some of our more dubious characters, for which we're very grateful.
On Thanksgiving 1970, 4 years after his arrival, the ailing Hughes leaves Las Vegas. His aides take him to the Bahamas. Having convinced Hughes, Mayhew is now the enemy. Over the next 20 years, Suma, the corporation created to look after Hughes' real estate holdings, sells its casinos to corporate investors. But while Hughes was responsible for cleaning up the tarnished image of Las Vegas, the mob still has investments tied up in several other casinos. One of the most important is the Stardust, the Chicago outfit's flagship gaming resort. Hughes attempted to buy it, but the Las Vegas Department of Justice prevented the purchase because they believed Hughes held a monopoly over the local casino trade.
To me, it's very simple. I mean, if we had been allowed to buy the Stardust, it would have ridden organized crime out of Las Vegas.
The Stardust Casino gives the Chicago outfit the traction they need to reach into the next decade. The early 1970s. Las Vegas has a new image. Billionaire businessman Howard Hughes has bought out several mafia-backed casinos and stamped his corporate approval on the city. But the Chicago outfit, overseen by Godfather Joseph Aiupa, still controls the Fremont, the Hacienda, the Marina, and most important of all, the Stardust. At the heart of its operation, the skin. The outfit needs someone in place to protect it. In 1971, they sent Tony Spilatro, a mobster with a violent reputation who grew up in the Chicago Mafia.
Was rumored over the years to have committed several murders, in fact, some very grisly murders, actually.
He was the enforcer, period. They didn't dare cut into the skim because if Chicago called him and told him to go take care of them, they knew that they would be killed. So he was the constant threat that kept the skim honest.
In Nevada, Spilatro lives up to his violent reputation. In the next 3 years, more gangland-style murders are committed than in the previous 25 years, and the death toll continues to rise over the next decade. But the authorities do not have the evidence they need to convict Spilatro. and the deaths remained unsolved. Part of Spilatro's crew is former mobster Frank Collada. He also grew up in the Chicago underworld.
If anything is put out in that desert, that it's just going to disintegrate over a matter of time, and there's nothing going to be there anymore. So that's a good spot to dump somebody. It would have been, let's say. When need be, Tony was very violent. If you robbed money from him, like if he had an interest going and you snuck in there and he found out, you were in big trouble, especially if you knew him.
Dominic Spinelli came to Las Vegas as a professional card counter. The former Boston mobster and illegal bookmaker knew full well the weight that Spilatro's presence carried in Las Vegas.
Word went out throughout the underworld. If you're thinking of going to Vegas and doing something wrong, don't go or you'll be very sorry.
His reputation was so fierce and so strong that most anybody would have thought that he had complete control individually over these casinos, which isn't true.
With Spilatro in place to make sure no one steps out of line, the Chicago outfit formed an alliance with a seemingly legitimate owner known by the FBI as a straw man.
The straw man was just someone who had no criminal connections anywhere but could be controlled like a puppet by the people who put them in place there.
The man is 31-year-old lawyer Alan Glick. Despite having no gaming experience, he secures a loan of $62.7 million from the Teamsters Union. Under the umbrella of the Argent Corporation, he becomes the official owner of the Stardust, Fremont, Hacienda, and Marina casinos. Glick mistakenly believes that he can control the activities of the casinos he's just bought.
Alan Glick probably got into the casinos and got way over his head rather quickly. I don't think he really believed that he could be controlled by the mob the way he was.
Instead, the powerhouse secretly running the casino is gambling expert Frank Lefty Rosenthal, a shady figure well known in the Chicago Mafia.
I was born in Chicago, and my friends included many, many people that might be or would be labeled as unsavory, connected.
Among them, an acquaintance from his childhood, Tony Spilatro. Rosenthal recognizes associating with a mob figure like Spilatro poses a threat to his public persona and his career in Las Vegas.
We did have a mutual agreement that it'd be best if we did not socialize. I knew that I wouldn't be able to sustain myself job-wise if we were to engage in any type of activities.
Unlike Spilatro, Rosenthal has a head for numbers rather than violence. He installs the first race and sports betting parlor in Las Vegas, and the profits quickly stack up. Rosenthal does his best to keep up appearances and distance himself from Spilatro's street thuggery. But his connections with the Chicago mob soon bring him under scrutiny from the Nevada Gaming Board.
I had a problem with the Gaming Commission, Gaming Control Board from day one. The perception was that I was a two-headed monster, an associate or an affiliate of organized crime. And I just wasn't able to shake that reputation.
Rosenthal's links with Spilatro seal his fate, and his gaming card is refused, preventing him from running a casino. But in an attempt to sidestep the authorities, he assumes the self-created position of the Stardust Casino's entertainment director. He becomes the star of his own TV program, The Frank Rosenthal Show.
The Las Vegas Strip, it's the all-new Frank Rosenthal Show.
True Hawkins worked on the studio floor during the recording of Rosenthal's program.
Everyone in town knew that the whole idea was to make him appear to be respectable, and it was just an open public joke that, oh yeah, it's the sports show with Lefty Rosenthal. It was one of those open, public, everybody knew but nobody talked about things, like the scam. Everybody knew it, but nobody talked about it.
With Lefty Rosenthal on a PR offensive, Behind the scenes, Alan Glick loses an ongoing power struggle. By 1979, it's all over for the casino strawman. The mob forces Glick to sell the Argent casinos to another mob-connected holding company, the Trans-Sterling Corporation. Beyond the casinos and the skim, the Mafia's criminal empire spreads throughout Las Vegas. Enforcer Tony Spilotro makes money from other traditional Mafia activities. He lets drug dealers and bookmakers operate on his turf. In return, they have to pay him a street tax. He also provides juice, loan sharking deals with a high interest rate.
Everybody needs money in Las Vegas. We had doctors that were on juice, we had lawyers that were on juice, and all these people don't want their wives to know that they're losing money. So they borrow from us.
A missed payment demands a heavy reminder, Mafia style.
There were a couple times that people come up a little lame on their payment, and you'd go over there and scare them a little bit. You didn't want to really kill them because you'd never get your money back then. So you went over there and you scared them, you made them think that you would kill them, or you'd break their legs, or we would hurt them physically.
And then Spilotro authorizes a new crime wave in the city. It's a first. Mafia-run burglary in Las Vegas. With Spilotro's backing, Collada recruits several mobster associates to form a jewelry theft ring, the Hole-in-the-Wall Gang.
It used to be a no-no to steal in this town. But I said, don't worry about it, I got the okay. He says, that's how your guys could earn. And if they make big scores, you know, I want a piece of the action. I said, no problem.
Times are changing. Burglary is a non-traditional Mafia activity, but the Chicago outfit turns a blind eye. The financial proceeds are just too tempting. And rising tourist numbers and citywide expansion offer rich pickings. During the 70s, tourist numbers doubled to over 11 million a year. Construction of new housing is spread out across the desert plains. Small-town Vegas is being swallowed up in an urban sprawl. And it's a burglar's paradise. A history of corruption within the local legal and political authorities makes stopping mob activity in Las Vegas a tough task. But then the fight against organized crime receives a boost. The Metro Police experience a reshuffling of personnel after the sheriff is indicted for tax fraud. Former narcotics detective Kent Clifford is placed in charge of the Intelligence Bureau. The shift in law enforcement sends ripples of panic through the Las Vegas Mafia. It's a clear signal the mob can no longer count on the authorities to ignore their increasingly blatant street crimes and their access to the skim. Spilotro's criminal activities also motivate the FBI and the Metro Police Intelligence to join forces for the first time. Between them, they come up with a new plan to bring down the illegal activities of the mob. They hide microphones all over the city, in cars, parking lots, public telephones, even the airport, hoping to pick up any criminal activity.
We decided to use continuous pressure on these people, hoping that not only would they make a mistake that we could capitalize on, but also hoping someday that perhaps one of the participants would tire of the pressure and decide to cooperate with authorities.
No one is put under more pressure than Tony Spilotro himself, the linchpin for the Chicago mob's interest in Las Vegas. He finds himself in the glare of the media spotlight.
We planned that if we illuminated him, that would put the heat on him from the boys from Chicago, and they'd either remove him or we'd get him in jail, one of the two.
And the plan works. The pressure begins to get to Spilotro.
Tony became very paranoid, very paranoid. And there was a period there where I thought maybe he was on coke or something, because he'd stay up all night. And they were getting a hold of him. The newspaper, they used to write about him all the time, so it was getting to him.
Then FBI agent Lynn